Welcome to Picture Lock, where we focus on film. Thank you for tuning in, watching, and or listening. Today on the show, I'll have Easy Street to talk about Sankofa, a hip-hop project, Travis Hopson of Drunk Critics, as well as More Small, a local DMV actor. And that's all ahead on Picture Lock. My next guest is a mover and shaker in the DC area. If you lived here and tuned into 93.9 WKYS during the afternoon drive, you've heard his voice and danced to the music he plays. Or perhaps you've been in the community and participated in one of Creative Solutions for Youth, his nonprofit organization's events. Now he's put on the hat of director in his new film, Sankofa, a hip-hop project. In the studio with me, I have the man, Easy Street. Easy, what's going on, man?
All right, good to be here, bro.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man.
So usually I start at, when did you first fall in love with film? But you're a little different case, so when did you first fall in love with music?
As a kid, I remember my mom and my father, they had this little raggedy turntable, and as a kid they would always be playing Isaac Hayes and Barry White and Barry Manilow and all these other kinds of music, and it just kind of got into my spirit as a kid, and I grew up to play music as a living now.
Wow. And so you, in college, you were a program director at a radio station?
Yes.
Right? Talk a little bit about that.
Kansas State University. I'm an alum. I did graduate. And I remember the first time that somebody took me into a radio studio. There was a guy on the radio by the name of Malcolm Briggs. And I was listening to the radio, listening to his show, and just checking him out and being a fan of music. And then I just hit him up one day, I was like, "Yeah, I want to come to the studio." And he was like, "Yeah, sure, come on up on my show." And I came by and he let me in, and I got in the studio. I saw what he was doing. I saw the records. I saw the microphone, the turntables, everything. I was like, "This is it, man. I'm at home." And the light bulb just went off, and that's what kind of like sparked my whole radio career of wanting to be a radio personality.
Nice. So, with film, I totally believe in the power of film and how it can change people. And I know with music, I think music surpasses film in that, music for the most part is so much more universal. It's been around for, ages, since the beginning of time, right? Mm-hmm. So can you just talk a little bit about the power that music has and how it changes lives?
Very powerful. I mean, music is, wow, what was God thinking when he created music? I mean, I think about that sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's such an integral part of not only my life, but the lives of everyone. I mean, everywhere you go, if it's gonna be a funeral, there's gonna be music. It's gonna be a wedding, there's gonna be music. At graduation, there's gonna be music.
That's true.
All these places where you go, there's gonna be music. So it made a supreme impact on me my whole life. My life is dedicated around music, and I'm just, I'm glad that I'm here to be able to hear it, enjoy it, and play it and spread it to people. And I like all kinds of music too, by the way, too. All kinds.
Right, classical?
Classical, hip hop, reggae, jazz, house, all kinds. Afrobeat, new jazz, new lounge, new soul, classic soul. I mean, I could rock, classic rock.
You could go on and on.
Oh man, I could go on and on, man.
That's what's up. All right, so, obviously 93.9 KYS is one of the local powerhouses in radio. So how long have you been at KYS?
Wow, man. Okay, this is 2015.
Right.
Okay, it's been 20 years. I've been on the air in DC for 20 years now. Miss Hughes and Alfred brought me in 95. I was with them for 6 years. For 4 years. Then I left and went to the competition for 6 years. Then I actually went to San Francisco for nine months. After that, I wasn't really a West Coast guy, so within 9 months, I ended up coming right back to DC, and so, about 20 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's That's awesome. That was why I was bringing it up, because you've been around for a while, and even in San Francisco, you took it from being number 6, right, to number 2.
I did very well. How did you know that?
Brother, you got to do your research now.
How did you know that?
Right. Just doing my research. That's all. All right. So we're gonna take it to film now, right? So, what made you want to actually make a film? Because Sankofa has been a long time coming. You've been shooting this since the 90s.
Yes. Well, it happened like this. I was hired by a company called the AfricanAncestry.com, and they basically test your DNA to help you find out where you're from in Africa. I took the test, and because I wanted to know, what tribe, what country I was from in Africa. So I'm not going to reveal it on the show. You have to watch my film for that.
Nice.
Exactly. So I took the test, I got the results, and I was like, wow, okay. I wanted to take it further. I ended up interviewing the lady who is the founder of the company, Gina Page. Gina Page hired me to go on this tour that she was on. She was traveling around to different cities to promote the company, and the testing to find out where you're from in Africa. And she was like, do you want to go and DJ at these events and kind of show our connection between our African roots, through music?
Right.
So I went to Chicago, I performed and did a little set out at the Chicago DeSable Museum on the south side of Chicago. And it was cool, I did the call and response, showing you the connection between, throw your hands up and all of that. And it was cool, But then I was like, you know what, this would be better as a film. And then that's how the idea was born for me to produce the Sankofa Hip Hop Project.
Okay. Now, Sankofa, before actually me checking out this film, I had no idea what the term meant. Can you talk about what Sankofa means?
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Little show and tell.
Okay. So this is the symbol for Sankofa. It's a bird, a Sankofa bird. There's a couple of symbols that basically are called Sankofa, actually Akan symbols. It came from West Africa. On my ring I have one too. This is an Akan symbol, which is Jinami. This is the symbol for Sankofa, the bird looking back and moving forward. So Sankofa means go back and fetch it. Go back and get your history so you can move forward. And I show you that in the film. I show you all these different ways that African Americans have done with music and hip hop to move forward. So
why do you think it's important that we go back and fetch history, as you say, to move forward?
Very important. I mean, it sounds so cliche. You hear people say it all the time. You have to know where you're from so you can move forward. But it's true. Me knowing who I am as an African man has helped me tremendously to be able to know where I fit into this world perspective. Through this film and producing it, I found out so many different more connections. Like, for instance, when I got the test, when I got the DNA test from AfricanAncestry.com, they told me, and I'm not going to tell you where I'm from in Africa. You have to see the film. I found out that I'm from a tribe that likes two things, that are known for two things.
Let me guess. One was music.
One is music,
Yeah.
Exactly. They're great music makers. And number two is traveling. Both of those things are my favorite things to do, traveling and music.
Wow. So in the film, we go back to like 1996, which I thought was kind of cool because it was like Martin-esque.
Yes,
you're like,
yes.
what's up?
Yeah.
But was that was your first time visiting Africa?
Yeah.
Okay.
How that happened was because I don't want people to think that I'm just this. I was thinking about doing the film in '96.
Right.
I wasn't. What happened was Miss Hughes, actually, who's the owner of Radio One and one of the founders, she asked me if I wanted to go to Africa in place of her because she couldn't make it.
Wow.
So she gave me a free trip to Africa. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes, she gave me a free trip, and so I went on this trip, and I knew I wanted to be cameraed up. I didn't think, oh, hey, 20 years from now, I'm gonna make a film. I just decided that I was just gonna record myself and have other people record me in Africa so I could have proof that I was really there.
Right.
So I ended up putting that footage in the film. That's how that happened.
That's awesome. So was it like beta or what, mini?
It was one
96.
of the first, yes, it was
Wow.
one of the first like handy cam that came out. It was like big and bulky like this, and it had
Right.
the little camera up there, and then they had the little place where you put your hand right there so you can like hold it.
Right.
It was one of those big square things, but hey, it worked, didn't it?
It did, and it's cool for
And
the
it was
film
gritty,
because
too.
yeah, it's like, oh, we're gonna go back.
Right.
That was dope. Okay, so the film does a great job, I think, of exploring hip hop culture, and so we see the juxtaposition of hip hop culture with African culture. So could you just talk about why you felt it was important to highlight those similarities?
Wow, very important, because everything that we do today is African based as far as from a hip hop perspective, but we just don't know it. And I wanted to show you that in the film. One of the very first elements of hip hop, of course, is the DJ. You know, a lot of people don't realize that the DJ started hip hop, okay? Not the rapper, not the break dancer, not the graffiti painters or anything like that. It was the DJ that started it. So I was like, DJ, okay. What do DJs do? You know, they get the party started. They play the music. They ignite the spirit and make you want to dance. And I just looked back and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I done seen all these African drummers all over the place. They're basically doing the same things. You know, they're both playing music to ignite the spirit to make you want to dance.
Right.
So I just kind of drew those connections. And actually, in the film, I spoke to Erykah Badu about that, and she saw the connection as well.
Yeah, so that's part of the film as well. You bring in these faces that everyone knows. You got Common, Snoop, Erykah Badu, as you were saying, Mary J. Blige. I love that scene where you brought in Chucky. Right? Yeah, but you're talking about sampling.
Yeah.
So at the same time, it's this heartfelt moment between her and he produced for her, right?
Chucky Thompson.
Yeah.
From DC, yeah.
Okay, so you got that heartfelt moment, and then it just allows her to kind of open up and talk about sampling. Can you talk about maybe what inspired that scene?
Well, I knew that she was coming to town, and I knew that Chucky produced all these great records, you know, with Bad Boy, and I wasn't sure how long it had been since they'd seen each other. So I was like, wouldn't it be great, you know, for me to like, guess who's behind door number one?
Right.
You know, take you back to your past. It was kind of like one of those things, you know?
Right.
And then I just kind of planned it all out. You know, she came in the studio. I had Chucky in another studio. She had no idea he was going to be there. And then we brought him in, and I made sure all the cameras were rolling to capture that moment.
Yeah. And
she almost cried, bro.
I know, man. I thought she did.
Yeah,
didn't
she was nearly in tears, and
like done.
Right. And what was amazing about that whole scene to me is the fact that, you know, as artists, they produce art to make you feel something. That's what Mary J. Blige sings for, to make you feel an emotion. But in that scene, I made her feel an emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, I think as a viewing audience, you felt that emotion as well, because you could tell it was genuine. You know what I mean? For a second, she was sitting there and she's having the professional radio, you know, interview that she's got to do. I'm sure that's on her schedule. And then boom, it was like the human, you know, this is just Mary, you know what I mean? So that was an awesome moment. All right, so what's been the reception so far of the film?
It's been very good. Very good. I have teachers hitting me up, schools want to show it. It's been wonderful so far. You know, ever since I put it on YouTube, you know, I probably got like 300 hits. I need more hits, please. Go to.
Go ahead, plug it.
We'll do that at the end, but see my film, please. Go ahead.
All right.
It's been really good though, man. I mean, everyone has seen the film is like, wow, man. One of the things that I thought that I was gonna have a problem with is, you know, when you produce a film, I thought, well, how do I capture people's attention and keep it for this whole hour?
Right.
You know, because I took a lot of stuff out. There's a lot of stuff that didn't make it in the film because it was getting too long. But the way I sliced it and diced it, you know, I just kept it moving really quickly. And then from, you know, people's responses after that, they were like, yo, you just kept me, you know, on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen next. So when I started hearing comments like that, I knew I did something right.
Yeah. Maybe you could go ahead and give just a synopsis of like what the film is all about, and just for the people that are watching or listening.
Well, the film is about, and I'm going to tell you a story too about the Africa footage, because there's a story behind that too. The film is about me showing you all these things that we do with music, whether it be DJing, whether it be breakdancing, graffiti painting, all these other elements of hip hop, you know, where they correspond with Africa, because there is a tie-in there, there's a deep link there, but on the surface we don't see it, but that was one of my journeys in producing this film, was to go inside, to seek these things out, to do my research, to talk to people, to interview people, to tie all these things together and to weave them into a nice little package to present to people. Now, the Africa footage originally, in the very first screening of the film that I did at University of Maryland, was not in the film. It wasn't in the film. I screened it, but my son said to me, he said, "Dad, how come you didn't put any more Africa footage in the film?" Because I did have one little clip. Remember, there's a scene in the film where I had the little boy from Senegal rapping in Wolof, in French. You know, that was actually on Gorée Island in Dakar, Senegal. I only had that clip in the film, but my son said, "Dad, why don't you put some more of it?" He said, "I wanted to see more of that because that would kind of show, you know, your motivation for wanting to do this film." And I thought about it. He said, "I know you didn't want it to become into a vanity piece. You know, this film is about me." He's like, "But, you know, I think that would bring it together to kind of show, you know, how long you've been at this and why you would want to produce a film like that." And he was right.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with him.
Yes.
Because it was great just to actually be able to see that, but it's also a journey piece, right? So it's your journey through hip hop, teaching us about the 5 pillars and all that stuff. So I mean, I think your son was right on.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So let's talk about creative solutions for youth, and just. Can you just let us know about your nonprofit organization, exactly what you do? Because I think that kind of also ties in to why you wanted to make a film like this.
Absolutely. Creative Solutions for Youth is a nonprofit I produced, I think in 1999. And I just wanted to try to produce a nonprofit or entity that was able to teach different little, well, for instance, one of my first projects was I wanted to get 90,000 condoms out on the streets of D.C. And I produced a relationship with D.C. government to be able to get the condoms and to distribute, because it was the issue. At that time, like D.C. ranked #1 for teen HIV infections, and I wanted to, you know, be part of the solution.
Right.
So
was that when they had like the major? It was like on all the buses and everything.
Yes,
okay,
all on the buses, and they were like, "Well, hey, you know, there's an epidemic going on in D.C. that's bigger than some countries in Africa." It was around that time.
Right.
So I just kind of took it upon myself to creatively come up with a solution to get out there to, you know, spread the word around. I produced these pallets and flyers, and I went around to these different churches and different organizations, and I gave them free condoms to distribute to the young people and also to the adults that needed them. So that was kind of the motivation, one of the motivations behind it. I wanted to try to come up with creative ways to be able to educate people on different things, whether it would be through HIV and AIDS, whether it would be this film, you know, a creative way to solve an issue. And the problem was we didn't know who we were. We didn't know that these things were connected. So that's what the film did. I wanted to show you the connection between all these different pieces of the puzzle.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so what would you say is the message that you want your audience to receive in watching the film?
The message that I wanted to put out, that's a good question. One of the messages that I wanted to get out there is the importance of knowing your history. I mean, knowing where you come from, knowing that these things are interrelated, and kind of make you want to seek it out for yourself. Don't believe what I say. You know, I'm just presenting all these pieces. Now it's time for you to go out there and do your own research and find out these things and make it part of your life. And then make sure you teach it to someone else, because somebody taught me, and then I began to produce this film to teach other people. Yeah. The other part of it was, you know, if you remember, there was like a family in the film. There was a family in the film too. I put them in the film. There was a dramatization. I wanted to do that so to teach you as a parent, you know, if you didn't know how, you know, the problem was the kids were getting bad grades. They didn't know who they were. I set up a goal for them. You know, I helped them with their study plan. And at the end of the film, I had to give up some Jordans because they got all A's. So, you know, I did that very purposely because I wanted to show you that there are plenty of opportunities. I mean, with the age of the internet that we have, there's no reason why your kids don't know about Africa, where they come from, then all the events that happen in D.C. I didn't say this in the film, but there was a scene where you see them go to an event actually in the film as a family. That was Fela.
Okay, okay.
It was the Broadway play Fela that came to DC. Of course, Fela was produced by Jay-Z, Beyonce, Will Smith, and all of them.
Right.
And I just wanted to show you that, these events happen. Take your kids to them.
Okay. All right, awesome. So, Easy, thanks for coming on and talking to us. Where can people follow you, find the film? Go ahead.
All right, follow me at Easy Street on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. My website, the official website for me is easystreetshow.com. And you can listen to me on the radio from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. on 93.9 WKYS.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Brother, thank you for coming on. Thank you for creating the film.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. We'll take a short break and be back with Travis Hopson, co-creator of Punch Drunk Critics.
This is Sonia Dunn, and I'm the director of The Bedroom, and you're watching Picture Lock.
Being a film critic these days can be pretty taxing. For many of us, you're losing money to bring reviews to the public, but it's the passion and love for film that keeps us doing this. My next guest has definitely found a way to keep himself diversified and relevant as a familiar voice in the DMV. Travis Hopson is a member of the Washington, D.C. Area Film Critics Association, a writer for Examiner.com, co-creator of the Punch Drunk Critics website, as well as a regular contributor to a number of entertainment broadcasts. It's my pleasure to finally welcome him to Picture Lock. Travis, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? It's about time, man.
I know, we've been trying this.
I've been begging you to come on the show and you won't let me on.
I was like, no, Travis, no.
I know, it's crazy.
No, I'm really glad that we can finally sit down.
Me too, man.
All right, so I always love to start at the beginning. When did you first fall in love with film?
Oh, man. I think I first, okay. I've always loved movies, like always, right?
Right.
My dad had a love for movies. My dad went to T.C. Williams High School. He played for the team that's on Remember the Titans.
Really?
He played for that team. He was there
Wow.
on set. So he had a love for movies always, and my uncle had a love for movies, and that kind of transferred over to me. Now, my early love of movies, my tastes weren't so great. I always joked that the movies that influenced me early on were like, they weren't like the Goonies and things like that. They were like Revenge of the Nerds.
That's still. I mean,
okay, but I'd like to think that my tastes have grown a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always loved movies my entire life, and it's my passion. I still love it.
Can I get off subject for a second? You talked about Remember the Titans, right? So that was one of the films that when I was in high school, I saw it and I was just like, oh my goodness. And I was a Denzel fanatic at the time.
Yeah.
And so when I got here to DC at one of the Nats games, like Remember the Titans came on and I was like, oh snap. And I'm going crazy. And this group right in front of me, they turn around, they're like, you didn't go to T.C. Williams? And I was like, but I love the movie.
Yeah, a little snobby about that. But you know what though? The interesting thing about that movie is my dad and I always have all these conversations about that movie, right? Since he was there while they were filming all that stuff, he loved the film, of course.
Right.
Admitting that, of course, it was Disney-fied as you'd expect it to be.
Right.
And he'd always bring it up because he knew that I couldn't stand that movie. I couldn't stand that movie. I still don't like it, despite the fact that it has such a personal connection to our family. I'm still just like, I could do without that film. But that's just one of those things.
Yeah. All right. So how did you get into film criticism? Was this something that you always, thought you wanted to do? Or?
No, not at all. I kind of fell into it, I think. I think it was around 2006, 2007. I always loved movies. I worked a lot. I used to work in the defense industry, for a lot of years. Out here in DC, every day, slaving,
Right.
like everybody else. And I needed that outlet. I needed something, like a creative outlet, because I just wasn't getting it, from the work I was doing. And so I was like, okay, let me start like a podcast or something like that I can just talk about movies for an hour, a week or something like that, and I reached out to people looking for people to co-host it with me because I had no faith in myself to carry a show on my own. And that's when I met John Nolan, who was also a member of WAFCA, just like we are. And we met, and our very first meeting, we were at this really terrible movie and it was kind of like a Tarantino-esque biker movie, and I can't even remember the name of it anymore. And we made the exact same cracks about it at the exact same time. We're like, yeah, we're cool.
Yeah.
So we started doing the show, and we were like, we need to start like a website or something to kind of just go along with it, and that's when we created Punch Drunk Critics.
Okay.
And at the beginning, really wasn't really about anything. It was just like the occasional post and reviews and things like that. Really small, nothing major.
Right.
But that's when it all started.
So Punch Drunk Critics, I've always wondered, how did that come about?
That's my fault. That's my fault. Punch Drunk Critics, I named it after what was one of my favorite movies and still is, which is Punch Drunk Love, obviously. Okay. Paul Thomas Anderson is my favorite director. I love everything he does. So I kind of just gave the name based off that. It was silly, it was stupid. But you know what? People don't forget that title.
Right. Right.
It's
exactly.
dumb, but no one forgets it. So anywhere I go, they're like, Punch Drunk Critics. So which is cool. With that, I guess it served its purpose, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's memorable.
Yeah.
So you write for the Examiner, and we were talking about this right before we got started, that you have so many different hats. You go to a lot of festivals, you cover reviews. Can you just give us, like, what does a typical year and maybe, like, even a typical week kind of look for you as a critic?
I don't sleep. I'm a vampire, actually. But no, it kind of feels that way sometimes. Punch Drunk Critics is my baby. It always will be. That is a 24-hour operation.
Right.
You see me online. I'm posting all day, all night, basically.
I honestly am like, how in the world is he doing this?
Along with writing 4 or 5 reviews a week. So it's maddening. But yeah, I also write for Examiner.com. I'm the top film critic for them, and I do every Thursday morning. I'm on WBAL Morning News in Baltimore, talking about movies, and I also do WETA Around Town right here in Washington with our friend Tim Gordon. Right. In fact, you filled in for me a couple times when we used to do our show. You filled in for me a couple times, which is very nice of you. Ratings went down, but that's another issue.
Nice.
but otherwise, I do a lot of different things, man. And my day consists of me waking up early. I have to discipline myself to wake up early and just get to work, writing reviews, writing news, because that's the bulk of our audience is news during the days. When it comes around the weekend, release dates, the reviews pick up the slack. They're huge. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's writing all day, then it's traveling into DC to see screenings 2 or 3 times a week. Right. And now with online screeners more prevalent than ever, I'm seeing more movies than ever. Right. Last year I saw 270. Wow. I probably wrote reviews for 250 of them.
Wow.
And the year before it was close to the same. And this year it's just the same.
Do you have it now? You know how like Jay-Z says like he doesn't write rhymes, right? It's just in his head. Is it the same for you? Like you see a movie and you just start writing the review in your head? How do you?
It depends on the movie, honestly. The worst thing I think this is probably the case for all critics. The worst movie is the kind that's just mediocre.
Right.
The kind where it's just like, it just kind of exists. Those are the worst to write.
Right.
The ones you have really strong feelings about are easy. They'll come out like that.
Right.
Movies that are really easy to criticize, I try not to be hurtful. Whenever I write a review, I try not to. Right. There are some movies that will test my patience. But most of the time I try to be I try to find something positive to say if I can. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. But for me, when it comes to writing, I'm pretty slow, honestly. I'm pretty slow. But if this is kind of how I was in school too. If I put myself on a deadline, like if I need to get this done in an hour, I'll bang it out in 30 minutes.
Oh, nice.
If I don't, it'd take me all day.
Right. See, this is great because like as many reviews as you put out, I'm always like, man, I'm so slow at this. But at least
I'm terrible.
Yeah, you're helping me feel like, okay, I'm in the right place.
I'm jealous of all my friends who can do these things, no problem. in 15, 20 minutes, some people can do it.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you go to a place like Sundance, when I was there this year, I've been there the last few years, and this year, I think I wrote like 17 reviews, right? Which, in about a week. It's not that bad. But my friend Chris, who writes for JoeBlow.com, he probably did double that.
Wow.
And I'm always like, I hate you. Because he can just sit down in line and knock out a review in 10 minutes. And I'm just like, I can't do that.
Right.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I just don't, it's not in me to do that. And it's not that I have to sit there and like consider everything. I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
It's not something super intellectual. It's just
No, I just can't do it.
that's awesome.
I can't formulate my thoughts that fast.
Exactly. Sometimes I feel like I kind of like what you were just kind of hinting at is like I feel like, man, if I do this too fast, then I didn't really think about it.
Right.
But then sometimes, like you said, I mean, if I have a strong opinion, then like I've already been thinking about this in the car until I get home or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so one thing that a lot of people say in the digital age that the film critic is dead. Do you think that's true or?
I do think that stuff like, I hate it when I see people who do like Twitter reviews and things like that. I can't stand it.
Yes.
I hate stuff like that, and I do feel like our profession, and I do call it a profession. For me, it's a profession. For everybody, it's not. For some people, it's a hobby. I take it seriously. I do it. I do this for a living. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I take it very seriously, and I do feel like our profession is dying out. Newspapers don't hire guys like us anymore.
Right.
There are more than a few times I'll go somewhere around town and I'll see a former film critic, working at a restaurant or something like that, and you're like, okay.
Right.
And that's just kind of how it is. You can hire anybody to do what we do. And anybody can do it, and everybody does do it.
Right.
Everybody has opinions on stuff, and with the internet age, everybody can put it out there, and it's not that hard anymore. So guys like me, guys like you, other people out there who've been doing this for years, why pay us? Why give us the big bucks anymore when you can hire some kid and give him free exposure?
Right.
And people will accept it.
Yeah.
And it hurts, I hate to see it that it's going that way, but that's the way it's going, and it's not going to change.
One of the things that I think for me personally, I'm a little bit jealous of like the younger kids
I know, everybody's
now.
jealous of me. It's crazy. I hear this
Yes.
everywhere I go.
Yes.
I knew, I was waiting for you to say it too.
I've been hating on you for a long time, Travis. No, but I think, I'm glad I am the age I am, but like I feel like if you're in college right now, like this is a perfect time because so many people can get on YouTube. If you create a great video, you develop your personality, you develop your brand, then people come back. But
Right.
for us, like we got a job we got to attend to, or you got so many different.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is one of those times where, like you said, like anybody can kind of do it, and everybody does it.
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, there are more opportunities than ever right now to do this if you wanted to, or to just make yourself known. But on the other hand, it does kind of cut the knees out from guys like us.
Right.
So I mean,
Exactly.
it's one of those things. Like I said, it's not going to change. It's not going to get easier. So the only thing that we can do is find new ways to present ourselves. It's the only way we can do it. You talk about diversifying. It's the only way to do it. You can't just watch a movie and go sit down and write a review anymore. It's not about that anymore. You have to put your face out there, you have to put your voice out there, you have to put your personality out there. You can't just write a review anymore. It's not that simple. 30 years ago, it was that way.
Right.
How many of those critics from those days are still around here? Not very many, a few.
Yeah.
So you got to find new ways to make yourself known.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's dropping jewels. Travis Hopson on Drunk Critics. All right, so tell me what's like one of your fondest memories in doing this, because you've met celebrities, you've done interviews, all this kind of thing. What's some of your fondest memories?
My favorite interview. All right, I have a couple. My favorite interview of all time, I think. Okay, I have three. For me, for the little geek in me, I loved meeting John Cena, the wrestler.
Really?
The movie I've interviewed him for was atrocious, but that's besides the point. He was a great guy, cool guy. He actually helped me set up the equipment when we were doing it. That's how nice of a guy he was. Yeah,
Wow.
and I'm a big wrestling fan,
Yeah.
which is one of those things that always bleeds into my stuff at Punch Drunk Critics. My love of wrestling, my love of comic books, my love of politics, all that stuff kind of bleeds in there, and some people hate it. I get all those emails too. Thank you. All those people who send me hate mail because something I said that's political, but it's fine. John Cena was the nicest guy in the world. I loved meeting the RZA for when he did The Man with the Iron Fists, because I've been such a fan for such a long time.
Right.
And then I saw the movie and I was like, damn it. The movie's terrible, but RZA is a cool guy too. And then I loved meeting Steve James, the guy who did Hoop Dreams and Life Itself.
Right.
I interviewed him with our friend Tim Gordon, and that was probably the best pure interview I've ever done. He's so smart, and he compared us to Ebert and Siskel and Ebert, which I was like, yeah, you're my favorite now.
And I mean, coming from him, that's huge.
Coming from him, that was huge.
Right.
I mean, I've gotten a lot of compliments. I've met a lot of people, but that was big for me. I really liked that because I respect Steve James so greatly, and I respect Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel so much too.
Right.
How could you not? So yeah, that was great. Those are my favorites.
Yeah. It's funny because I love how many critics these days, they have like that side passion as well, and like you said, you bring it in. I think I was always a fan of the Attitude Era with The Rock. Like, so when I go to see San Andreas, like I'm just like,
oh, I had to invite a friend to that one because I have friends who watch wrestling too. So if there's a movie with The Rock in it, I gotta invite somebody.
Right.
I can't just let it go by. Somebody has to come with me.
Right.
But yeah, my love of wrestling is just as long as my love of movies, if not longer.
That's cool. One of the things I guess that a lot of people kind of get into these days are, the cosplay and all the conventions. Can you talk about maybe how conventions is also kind of having an effect on the film industry?
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Well, it's interesting. I go to San Diego Comic-Con most years. In fact, I'll be going back next month for this one. I don't look forward to it. It's 4 days of hell. But yeah, the convention crowd now has a huge influence on the way studios decide what they're going to do. Sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's not so great because we are a very vocal, but not always such a large crowd. We're not always that dedicated.
Right.
Like I'll use for an example. A few years ago, there was a movie that played at Comic-Con or was announced at Comic-Con, which is called Astro Boy, which you might remember, animated film.
Right.
Huge at Comic-Con, huge. Anybody go see it? Nope. Nope. But the cosplay crowd loved it.
Right.
The geeks loved it. The fanboys loved it. Nobody wanted to pay to see it. Or maybe they did all pay to see it, but it only amounted to $10 million total. So studios nowadays have to decide what's real and what's kind of just, the in the moment thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think Marvel has found a way to latch onto a crowd that goes beyond just the Comic-Con group.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not always easy to decide what those things are going to be. I think Mad Max Fury Road is one of those movies that I was there when they first debuted footage of it at Comic-Con. And the crowd was going bananas for it, whereas I was like,
Right.
Was it real? Was it real enthusiasm? That had to be cultivated over a year, I think. Because I don't think there was that kind of buzz for it at first. Yeah, I don't think there was. It had to be cultivated, and it's a phenomenal film.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's one of those things that grew into being as big as it was.
Yeah. All right. As we're kind of coming to the end, what's one of the things for like aspiring critics? What's that nugget of advice that you would give them?
Yeah, I always get this question, like, how do you start being a film critic? I was like, I don't know. I just like I said, I just kind of just did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? The main piece of advice I can give you is to just sit down and do it, and then do it often, and then do it consistently. These are the things you have to do. If you're going to start a website, you're going to start reviewing movies. This is all I did. Just start your site, write your first review, and then keep at it. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't go another month before you write another one. Write about everything. Write about everything you see, whether it's a new movie, an old movie, whatever. Write about it, because not only does it improve your skills, but people will start to recognize this is what you're doing, and they'll start to get a handle on what you're saying and who you are. That's what's important. So that's what I tell people: just do it and do it consistently.
All right, that's great advice. All right, so
You're welcome to take it.
man, you and Travis, you and Tim, y'all, golly.
I hate to think how he was over here on this show.
Yeah. All right, so where can people find you, read your reviews, follow you on everything?
You can find me on Twitter at Punchy Critic. Is my handle. You can read me every day at punchdrunkcritics.com, examiner.com. On Thursdays, you can hear me on WBAL Morning News, which I think is 10:90 a.m. or something like that. And whenever they air us on WETA around town, that show moves around so much I have no idea.
Okay.
So that's where you can find me pretty much everywhere.
Awesome. Travis, this has been good. Please,
It's been fun.
don't be a stranger. All right, listen, I'm inviting, stop, where's it going? Which one? This one? All right, I'm inviting Travis back. You can come back anytime.
All right.
You guys heard it.
All
he
right,
heard it.
since you asked so nicely, I'll come back.
All right, but thanks again for coming on the
No
show,
problem, man.
Appreciate
Glad
it.
to be here.
We'll take a short break and be back with more Small.
Hi, I'm Harold Jackson III, writer-director of Last Night, and you're watching Picture Lock.
You're watching or listening to Picture Lock, where we focus on film. My next guest is a DC native actor, fight choreographer, writer, director, and voiceover talent, with appearances on shows like Veep and House of Cards, as well as doing work on The Wire. More Small, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, so I always like to start at the beginning. When did you first fall in love with film?
When I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was elementary school. We did a lot of entertainment. I was never really afraid to entertain in front of anybody, as long as I knew my routine, knew what was ahead of me. We did a little breakdance contest. We had some theater. We had a dedication to an individual that got hurt when I was in elementary school, and it kind of just picked up from there, literally. I just loved that. I always wanted to move to California, you know, get in that weather, get out in that film, be one of those childhood actors. But you got the parents, they kind of advise you it's a poor man's craft. It's not really gonna go nowhere. You gotta watch people, you can't trust anybody. So all my love, I just like entertaining people. I really just love entertaining.
Okay. So I guess you grew up just kind of like watching films and things like that.
I used to go see films. I think I went to go see Ghostbusters, National Lampoon's European Vacation. I went to see this movie and went back, caught the bus to go back and watch them again. Snuck in the movie theater. I watched stuff. It was crazy. I watched stuff over and over and over.
So
Literally.
you grew up in the DMV, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as an actor in this area, do you think that this is a viable profession? Because, you know, a lot of times people think, you know, you got to go to LA, you got to go to New York.
Yes and no. No, because they don't really look at the area as it's political. It's evolving. You have a lot of people from the West Coast of New York moving to this area. I would say yes, because you have the Kennedy Center. You've had successful shows like The Wire, Pat Moran casting, Kimberly Skirm casting, Carolyn Davis casting in Virginia. I mean, that avenue right there, that definitely opens up. And then the stars that we've had from this area themselves, I mean, that definitely opened up some eyes.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say some of your, you know, what have been some of the learning experiences in working on shows like Veep and House of Cards? Because, you know, these are shows that have gone on to have great success in this area. But specifically for you as a working actor, you know, what do those shows mean to you?
It showed me professionalism, showed me pretty much a higher budget. Everything is based on a higher budget with them. The stars, you kind of get used to them, the crew, how the crew engaged and how everybody has a rapport. The directors running back and forth. A scene may appear, and then they just take it out just like that. That happened to me when I was on House of Cards. I played Secret Service role, and we was at the University of Maryland. And the director just coming and I film this. Now take that out. Now film that. I didn't mind, but I'm pretty sure Julie Dreyfus didn't like the whole thing. So it was, you know, definitely.
And just for people that like myself that watch House of Cards, you were in the scene with was it with Kevin Spacey and when he's actually at
He was in a ballroom.
the barbecue? Okay. Okay.
There was a ballroom, and the Veep one, that was brief for the House of Cards, but the Veep one was the one that was pretty much seen in, because we was there for like 3 days.
Okay.
At the University of Maryland filming.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did the typical schedule kind of look like in terms of?
Oh, well, I'm a federal government employee, so I wasn't working. We got the furlough. The furlough.
Okay.
The furlough. So it could not have come at a better time. I worked for like 3 days. It was like 5 a.m. to probably 6 or 7 in the evening. Wow. Literally.
Right.
Yeah. It was real nice. It was real nice just to be working. It was really nice because that was scary for a minute. I was like, we going back to work? All right, well, I'm going back to Veek. So I also get used to it.
Nice. So you talked a little bit about Kimberly Skirm casting. Can you just talk about those casting agencies for maybe actors in the area that are looking to get their face out there?
I haven't really dealt with Pat Moran too much. I've only dealt with the crew, and when the casting assistants called me, Carolyn Davis had maybe 1 or 2 auditions when I first started in acting. But Kimberly and her staff and Katie, they're awesome. They are awesome. They're very they make an actor feel comfortable, make it feel like we want you to do your best. We want you to get this job because we want to get more work referred to us. You know, so and the classes that they have now, that Katie's doing, it's great.
So why is that important to you that, you know, you feel, really what I think what you're talking about is just being believed in?
Right. It makes you feel more comfortable as an actor. You don't get as nervous. You feel like the odds may be in your favor, even if you don't get a job. It was a guy that was there. He was from Philly, and he told me I auditioned for V quite a few times, maybe like 7 or 8 times. This guy said he was in it probably like 45 times.
Oh, wow.
Then he went off to go to Philadelphia because they were doing Creed, and Kimberly knew, I think, Harry Casting in Philly, and they were talking to correspondence, so he got an audition for that. So
Okay.
they're very helpful.
Okay. Fight choreography.
Oh, man. I'm glad you got to that one.
How did you get into that?
It was easy. I didn't like scary movies. I'm born on Halloween. I didn't like scary movies, so my uncle gave me a choice. You either want to watch the guy with the hockey mask on, or you want to watch Jackie Chan. let's go watch Jackie Chan. So it really must started from there. Snake and Crane, Bruce Lee, a lot of the Hong Kong movies
Super
were awesome.
Ninjas.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched everything.
Shaw Brothers.
Everything. Gordon Liu, everybody. Sammo Hung.
Yeah.
Then you got the 90s actors. You had Billy Blanks. I forgot what the other
Billy
name.
Blanks?
Billy Blanks was in there.
Isn't that the dude that did, really?
Yeah.
He was in movies?
He was in Hong Kong movies.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they were all really martial artists. So all of them just kind of kept doing all these 90 films.
Gotcha.
And Billy Blanks was in the old ones too.
I got some homework to do.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, how does someone get into, you know, fight choreography, and what does all that entail?
It wasn't hard for me to really get into. It's just not a lot of variety of work around here. What made me focus on it a lot more is when I actually got in contact with someone from the Los Angeles area. His name is Mr. Sam Hargrave. He's a stuntman. I sent him an email. I sent a lot of people emails, and he contacted me back. And I was like, oh wow, well I'm you know, I threw the hook, and he called us. So I kept talking to him and showed him what I did for my demo. He told me the truth. Then I think probably like a year ago, he came back over here, and he was doing Winter Soldier.
Okay.
And then he brought Chris Tucker, stuntman, and he texted me. He said, hey, Morris, I'm in town. You want to come down with me? I said, sure. I'm talking to you on the phone all the time. Let me come meet you. I got a friend with me. Okay, cool. So it ended up being Chris Tucker, stuntman.
Okay.
You know, then I did a quick interview with him, and he made me feel real comfortable. Expertise, straight to the point. He tried to say that you trying to be an actor, fight choreography, or both. You know, he tried to break the dimensions down for me. What are you really trying to concentrate on? So once he elaborated on that, I started making my decisions from there. And I did a fight choreography for an independent film feature called Shades of Crimson. This was a Baltimore production. And we was working on that forever, forever. Some of the cast members got sick. I was driving from DC to Baltimore all the time. So
Right.
they finally got it done. It was good.
Is it out now?
No, he kind of gave my scene. I said, could I get a scene for my demo? And he was like, okay. And I kept bugging him. I didn't know he had death in the family and other losses and stuff. So finally got the footage. Some of it's my scenes only, but everybody, I didn't see the whole thing. Not yet.
Yeah. Okay. So I know on your site you have some your demo footage from, you know, doing a little bit of fighting.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
you know, are you just that fast? Are you fast with the hands, or is that just the choreography?
I would say a little bit of both. All the choreography, I would say I don't like the slow stuff. I loved it as a kid, but I realized these guys were just psh, 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 and speed it up a little bit. So the choreography is based on, I guess, real time, meaning what would you do in a situation? How fast would an individual act in that moment? So everything's pretty much based off that with the speed.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you've enjoyed doing as an actor as well as a fight choreographer?
Being in front of the camera, choreographing, learning the safety, the placements, trying to draw in ideas that would be entertaining to the audience. You know, because I could think something's awesome. Somebody else would say, I'm like, dude, they just threw 2 punches, that's it. You know, and so,
Right.
And behind it, because I didn't know nothing about the angles, that first demo was, and that's the first thing Sam mentioned, he said, Morris, you gotta get more angles in there. I was, really? I don't know, we were just punching and kicking. It looked good, but he said if you would chop the angles up and shot at different angles, stayed on that 180 side,
Right.
you've been good to go.
Right.
We didn't do that. We did not do that. We just
It's always a learning process.
always. Right? Always learning something.
So let's talk about what's the concept behind your short, I Wish I Were Alone?
Oh, man. I Wish I Were Alone was broken up many ways. I say that because I couldn't get location. It's my first film. I was like, okay, I know a couple actors I work with. I don't really like to turn actors down, so if I see somebody and they fit a role, I will ask them. Some stores if I visit in the past, like retail store, like, hey, look, I'm shooting a short film. Could I use your area to film some of it? You know, and he's like, cool, that's cool. Mm-hmm. My character was Tyler Washington. I tried to make the story as dramatic as possible. I tried to have my mother die and my girlfriend die, and I just didn't want to be around nobody. Girlfriend thing didn't work out too well. So I pretty much evolved everything around my mother being murdered. Me not wanting to be at work. And in the beginning of it, it's kind of just me walking around. It's a voiceover in the background. One of my coworkers is telling me I gotta get the job done or, you know, I'm gonna get fired. Mm-hmm. Kind of huff and puff, and then it just goes into the background of DC that I filmed. I go to a cemetery, talk to my mom there at the grave, got permission from the cemetery, thank goodness. It was some scenes that I really wanted to do. It was some scenes, like for instance, my character was supposed to go to a bar and get drunk by himself, but he got set up by 2 girls, got drugged and got robbed. Mm-hmm. The bartender was in on it. The 2 girls was in on it. Couldn't get the scene. I tried to call Merlin Film Office. They said unless you have Tom Hanks or somebody big, really big in your film, you're not gonna get to the hospital. I was like, oh,
right,
right. So I had to cut that out, and I just went a different direction. I went and shortened it up. Found another buddy of mine's. Hey, can you do the scene? Just give me some drugs. I get drugged and I go into this world. That's it.
So, I mean, what it sounds like is in your first experience in terms of directing, mm-hmm. You know, you had to learn on the fly, right? Because 90% of filmmaking is problem solving.
Exactly.
And so that's really kind of like what you're getting at.
Yeah.
One question that I have is work ethic. You know, it seems like that's something that's really important to you. It's all over on your website. You got the Will Smith quotes, the Tyler Perry quotes, and all that kind of stuff. Talk about work ethic and what that means to you.
I'm gonna say this and hopefully it answers your question. Uh-huh. I used to think, and I think a lot of people thought the same thing, I thought talent was everything. I thought talent was gonna get me this check. I thought talent was gonna have me in a Ferrari. No.
Right.
I used to tell people this. If you go to school for a degree, you bust your tail. Try to get this job, you don't get it. But then someone else that knows someone at that job doesn't have a degree, didn't work, but had the right connections to get the job, how would you feel? And I was like, wow, didn't think of it like that. So yeah, it's connections. You know, connections, networking, work ethic. You always gotta learn something. You know, I look at the Denzel stuff, Taraji Henson. I looked at a lot of actors that are from this area, like Regina Hall, Michael Eli, Samuel Jackson, Sandra Bullock. They're all from this area. Mm-hmm. You know, try to figure out, look at their resume, saw what they did. A lot of them had parents that was into it. I didn't have none of that. Father was a doctor, mother worked at a law firm, so I was kind of like the kid that's supposed to become a doctor. Mm-hmm. So ended up being film.
All right, so what are some of your goals for cinema and TV?
Hopefully to produce more productions, short films. I had one I just finished. There's a comedy. I had some comedians in that. That was definitely a great experience. Hopefully get some more work, probably in the New York area, Florida, worldwide. You know, I would like to get picked up. What a lot of people don't know, excuse me, a lot of people don't understand that at one point I had an agent. And this is probably the Hollywood dramatic story that I have. He was with the Annapolis agency, and this is when I became like SAG eligible. It's going back and forth. He moved around the Arundel Mills area. I go visit him because I say, hey man, I got eligible, this and that. Come up to the studio, this and that. I was okay. Did my headshots and everything, supposed to get some voiceover demos done. I get to the studio, I see a homicide detective car outside. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is a film shoot. I'm like, okay, this is not, I'm there. I'm like, all right, this is, they got some production going on. So this guy comes out, looks me up and down. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm More Small, I'm a talent. Yeah, what are you here for? I'm here to see Mr. Shaw. So Mr. Shaw's been murdered.
Really?
Huh? You joking? No, it's been murdered. I was like, oh my goodness. I haven't had an agent since like 2006, ever since that happened.
Wow.
All the work, all that. That's why I've been pushing myself so hard,
Wow.
Come to find out he was an awesome guy. He was doing other stuff.
Yeah.
He was
Well, I'm
doing
sorry to
other
hear
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
That's
serious.
tough. Yeah. Well, you just brought the show down, Mike. Well, geez. All right, Morris. Well, before we get out of here, why don't you tell people where they can find you, follow you, all that good stuff?
Not a big fan of the Facebook. Tumblr's been very helpful for me. You can find me on my website. It's www.moresmall.com. Once again, it's www.moresmall.com. I have all my information on there. I have information. You can look me up on More Small on imdb.com. All my information's right there. Feel free to get in contact with me anytime.
All right, Morris. Well, thanks
Thank you,
again for
Kevin.
coming on.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the wrap-up.
Hi, my name's Kimberly Skirm from Kimberly Skirm Casting and Women in Film and Television International, and you're watching Picture Lock.
That's all for this episode. I'd like to thank my guests, Easy Street, Travis Hopson, and More Small, for coming on the show and giving us insight into their lives and their love of music and film. You can find Picture Lock on Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to check out the website picturelockshow.com for movie reviews and news, and if you're interested in being a guest on the show. Until next time, I hope you stay locked on film.